Hello, everybody, and welcome to this part one on narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder, a homeopathic perspective. This will be a 1 hour webinar maximum where we'll spend about 30-40 minutes going through some slides and learning about narcissism, and then we'll have some time for open questions. So for those of you who are logged in, you might find at the bottom of your screens an ability to chat to the panelists and a Q&A button to ask questions. Please ask away where you can. We'll try and answer as many questions before today. And when we reach our time limit, we will carry these on to part two. Before we go into this webinar proper, we're just going to give you a slight introduction to the CPH, which is the College of Practical Homeopathy, because that's the reason you're here and how you've heard about us. We've become a leading institute for training professional homeopaths for the 21st century and achieved a number of world firsts. We've been around for a very long time, over 40 years, in various guises to get to where we are now. We were the first college to be recognized and accredited for training practitioners in Europe, the Middle East, Africa, North America, and the Asia Pacific areas. We are one of the first colleges to be accredited under the Institute of Homeopathy Accreditation. This is where colleges look at other colleges and award them a badge of excellence for their training. We were the first college to offer year-round study courses with no terms or semester times, enabling our students all around the world, in whatever country they're in, to start when they are ready. And we were the first to teach a professionally licensed practical homeopathy course. Not just doing short courses, but a proper qualification equivalent to a degree or master's degree level. The college is headed up by two homeopaths who have gained a bit of a reputation over time. Ellen Kramer is the founder. She was also the co-founder for the Center for Homeopathic Education, a college which to this day is still in existence. And then she founded the College of Practical Homeopathy, after buying the College of Practical Homeopathy London, making it global, changing the entire course to add in progressive homeopathy for patients of the future. And she developed this holistic homeopathic approach, which we teach, for a total mind-body support system, which includes nutrition, herbs, supplements, flower essences, meditative provings, the matridonal remedies, and much more. She also introduced the Chinese 5 elements principles and the Ayurvedic chakra systems, which are ancient systems of healing, health, and understanding to further enhance total body understanding and healing in today's patients. I myself, I'm a clinical pharmacologist by qualification, and I've been a CPH graduate here for many, many years, and I have the privilege of being one of the tutors here also. And over my 25 plus years in various careers, I've trained hundreds of doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and homeopaths, and I'm happy to share some of those experiences with you today. What we like to do here, we like to blend the allopathic knowledge that we bring with homeopathic practice, and we actually redefine what's possible in the study and practice of practical homeopathy. We integrate the sciences of anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and endocrinology to deepen our understanding of pathology, how the body gets to its disease state. I have the privilege of being on the board of directors at the Society of Homeopaths and the board of directors at the Institute of Homeopathy Accreditation, where we look at other colleges and accredit them in excellence in delivering education. It indeed is a privilege. I have an MBA from Warwick University, my MPhil is from Leicester, and my basic bachelor's degree was from University College London. So hopefully we have a little bit of experience that we can combine to share with you things that we go on this journey. Our mission is to become the global leader in practical homeopathic education and to make it affordable and effective. Our vision is to have our homeopaths in every country to help their patients and clients. And our values is we share our learnings as we learn to keep homeopathy progressing towards the future, which is the basis of today's webinar on narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder. As we learn, we like to share with people at large. That creates a nice virtuous circle. We are unique in a number of ways at the CPH. When we take a case, we focus on case analysis instead of just learning and memorizing remedies. Once we've taken that case and we are clear what needs curing, we then use the right methods to help us find the most appropriate remedy. And there is more than just one method. We teach at least 15. What this means to our students and graduates is their success, their confidence, and their practice grows. This makes them adaptable to any situation that the modern patient may present with. We don't fear the future, we embrace it, we are ready for it. And we teach our students to be independent, free thinkers, not stuck by old dogma, and equip them with the skills to allow them to succeed professionally, personally, and within a changing marketplace. We will see that as we embark on this lecture. We are all around the world, growing daily. We've graduated over 4,000 students. We've treated over 50,000 patients, and we've delivered over 150 plus webinars over the decades. We expanded rapidly and still growing in the USA as well. We know many of you are from the USA. We've got a couple of hundred at the last count in the USA. We've treated nearly 4,000 patients. And we have live teaching events throughout numerous states. We've only just got back from Utah. We've been in Georgia a few months before that. And at the start of the year, we're in Arizona. And we've got a fantastic meet and teach lined up for Texas in October. So if you are enrolled with us, we will see you there. What do we teach? We teach homeopathy, and we build the homeopathic practice with nutrition, which is the foundation of good health. We supplement that with herbs and supplements, and we nourish the body with tissue salts if we're cellularly malnourished. We teach the bowel no-sodes, which not a lot of people understand fully. We have a YouTube video on that if you wish to do it. We introduce the flower essence and how they can be used in the more mental, emotional sphere. We cap that off with meditative provings, which take us beyond the mental, emotional sphere into the auric realm to further enhance well-being, ancestral well-being, and future well-being. And most importantly, we help our students grow through the course. They don't just go through it, they develop a healthy mindset. We have a phrase here, some of the students call it a somism. We say health is a state of mind. And we teach that in the course, that things start in the brain, work their way through the body, cascade through the organs, and manifest as disease. So that's enough a little bit about us. Now let's talk about what we're all here to learn and share about. Narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder, a homeopathic perspective. Part 2 is in 3 weeks' time. Details to follow. Before we begin, we have a disclaimer that the content presented here by us is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended for you or us to diagnose, treat, or cure any medical or psychological condition. So by listening to us, you do acknowledge that the information shared is not medical or psychological diagnosis. It should not be used as a replacement for consultation with a licensed mental or medical health professional. If you take any actions, you have the responsibility. You indemnify us and hold us harmless against what we teach you here. And finally, we do strongly suggest, if you want to discuss this further, consult a professionally licensed homeopath or an appropriate healthcare professional. Let's begin. So what is narcissism? The definition of it is an excessive preoccupation with oneself, having an inflated sense of self-importance and a need for admiration, and at the same time a lack of empathy for others. Now, as we embark on this journey, I'd like you to think about situations in your life, people you have encountered. We may be living with someone like this. We may have a parent, a sibling, a partner, a child, a colleague, or a neighbor. So try and picture these and bring these words that we go through today to life and see how this can help us understand them better. But even more importantly, to understand ourselves better. And then at the end of this 2-part series, we should be better equipped to empathize, sympathize with other people, be stronger in ourselves, and have happier, healthier relationships. That is the aim. The origins of the word narcissism came from Greek mythology and the story of a guy called Narcissus who was so infatuated with his own beauty that he kept staring at his own reflection in the river until one day he died gazing at it, fell in and drowned. Imagine that. So rivers were the first selfie sticks in mirrors. People looked at the reflection. And he was embodying excessive self-love, vanity, and a failure to recognize the needs or feelings of each other. It comes from the Greek word narcissos, which means a self-loving person. And it's related to the narcissus flower. That's a range of flowers. One of the common ones we see here in the UK is the daffodil, and it symbolizes self-admiration. Now, before we go further, I want to talk about something called a mindset. Things start in our mind, manifest into our behaviors. We have to think it first, then we can act it. Now, carcinosin is a remedy, a homeopathic remedy for those of you who are not yet studying homeopathy or familiar with it. And narcissism, as we just said, is it's an infatuation with the self. But we're going to think about the mindset of these two, and we're going to reach an understanding of where we're coming from a homeopathic perspective. A carcinosin mindset is someone who thinks to themselves, I am not worthy. I lack self-love and I need others to love me. Maybe we know people like this. Maybe we are someone like this. A carcinosin person also is a bit of a people pleaser. We'll have people and say, oh, I'm a people pleaser. I like to keep everybody happy. As long as everybody's happy, I'm fine. Are you really? So what a carcinosin mindset is, I please other people. I suppress my own emotions because I have low self-esteem. They also might think how others perceive me is how I find my value and my worth. It's all about how others think of me. Without that, I do not have any self-worth. Another carcinosin mindset is I overcompensate because I am not enough, not worthy, and not good enough. So I try harder just to please other people. Another part of the mindset is everybody else's needs come before mine. I sacrifice myself for others' happiness. And I'm sure many of us know these phrases, have heard these phrases, or even display these phrases. So that's the carcinosin mindset. Someone is always giving, has low self-worth, and needs validation. Now, I want us to do an exercise as we're going through this. It's very important. Let's flip every single word and do the exact opposite of it. Okay? And I'll tell you what I mean. We're literally going to flip the words. So a narcissist, instead of saying I am not worthy, will say I am worthy. I love myself. And I don't need others to love me, but they can admire me. And instead of being a people pleaser and suppressing my emotions, a narcissist says, I'm a self-pleaser. I do what pleases me. I can express myself on emotions and I don't care for anybody else's. Why? Because I have high self-esteem. I'm the best and I'm better than everybody else. It's quite a nice, easy game to play this. Carson says how others perceive me. A narcissist says how I perceive myself is how I find my value and worth. I look in the mirror. I look at my bank balance. I look at my clothes or my friends or my social status or my job. And I define my worth because I am worthy of this. I'm better than the rest. A carcinosin mindset, I overcompensate. Narcissist, I don't need to compensate because I am enough and I am worthy. Finally, everybody else's needs come before mine. I sacrifice myself for others' happiness. So by now we should be able to flip the script. My needs come before anyone else. I sacrifice others for my own happiness. Let these words resonate with you as we go through this chat together. I'm sure we know people like this. We might even call them selfish. But if we study these words, it becomes very, very clear that one mindset is the exact opposite of the other mindset. We might even say there are two sides of the same coin. So if we are in a relationship or a workship or a paternalship or a neighborship with someone who displays these, life is a mirror. I am drawing to me exactly what I'm putting out there, but in a way, the flip side of it. So if I'm a person who feels not worthy, I'm going to probably attract someone who feels greatly worthy. Because we always say here, the carcinosin mindset needs to need others. A narcissist needs to be needed. And you can even flip right around the other way around and say, well, maybe a carcinosin person needs to be needed because they're very needy, and a narcissist needs other people to need them. It's a very intertwined relationship. So if we are one, a narcissist, or if we're a carcinosin, we should be able to see both sides of it. That's the start of understanding something. Life is a mirror. I'm experiencing back in my life exactly what I'm vibrating out there. So as you go through this and watch it again on the videos later, spend time reflecting on this. Very, very deep. They're not the enemy. They're not out there. A reflection of our own being. So if we want to change the outside world, we can perhaps work on ourselves and change our mindset. We are all narcissistic to a certain extent. We might look in the mirror. We might check our clothes. If we have a stain on, if our clothes are creased, we might polish and wash the car at the weekend. We might want to dress nice for work. So there are elements of narcissism in all of us. Equally, there are elements of carcinosin mindset of not quite being good enough in all of us. But it's the degree to which they are that damages relationships. That's what we're going to explore. This is just another way of looking at them, two sides of the same coin. But there's something beyond narcissism called narcissistic personality disorder. So one is a love of self. One is a disorder when it's damaging to people around us. There's a difference. One is a personality trait. We all have traits of narcissism in us. We've just talked about that. One is a personality disorder, which requires diagnosis by a mental health professional. And we've gone a little bit away to help us with this. And the next slide will show us. The diagnosis of NPD, Narcissistic Personality Disorder, is described in a book called the DSM-5. That's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, 5th edition. And it states that to be defined as having NPD, an individual must meet 5 or more of the following. Let's explore these. A grandiose self-importance. People even exaggerate their achievements and talents. They brag, they show off, because they want others to recognize them as being superior without actually achieving that superiority. Basically, they believe their own hype. They have a preoccupation with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, or beauty, or even ideal love. I'm better than other people. I'm more successful. I'm richer. I live in a better neighborhood. I look smarter. I'm more handsome, more beautiful, slimmer, etc. We get the picture. We're starting to see people in our lives like this. We can even give them names and visualize them as we're going through this. Believing they are special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special high status people or institutions. You're the golden child. You're my favorite son. You're my greatest niece. You're my best uncle. You're the best employee of the month, etc., etc. I'm sure you'll find many, many of your own descriptors that you've gone through in your life. They require excessive admiration. We've all asked our loved ones, do you think I'm pretty? Am I handsome? How do I look before we go out on a date or to an event? But we required it all day, every day. You didn't tell me I'm beautiful today. You didn't tell me I'm a good worker today. Boss, I left this report on your desk and you didn't tell me it was fantastic like you did last week. How needy is that? So we're starting to see the neediness here. So then we start to think, hang on a minute, this is a little bit sad. So we're starting to get a picture. A sense of entitlement. Unreasonable expectations of favorable treatment. Now I'll give you our examples. We've gone to the USA a few times to do meet and teachers. A number of times I've met people in a queue saying, I shouldn't have to line up. Do you not know I'm a premier, elite, business class, first class customer? I want access to the lounge, even though they don't deserve it. I want to be at the front of the queue. Why do I have to wait so long? The rules say this, I'll take 2. I'll steal a napkin. I'll have the coffee. I won't pay for this. I might go shopping, leave clothes on the floor because the staff are there and get paid to pick it up. Because I'm entitled to browse. Sometimes we go out to dinner, we see people click their fingers at the waiter or the server because they have a sense of being weight on hand and foot. So you'll see the behaviors all around this. Being interpersonally exploitative. This is quite damaging. This is why this is called a disorder. They take advantage of others to achieve their own ends. Sometimes people will become friends, schmoozing. He's good for my career, he's good for my network. I've heard the phrase, if you don't network, you don't get work. Sometimes people enter relationships, marriages of convenience, because it suits me or you are good for me, to have you hanging off my arm, a bit of arm candy, or an intellectual person, to show other people I've made it. And that goes back to point two, unlimited success or power. If I'm associated with people, part three, I become high status. If I marry a rich, wealthy business person, I become that person. If I marry somebody pretty, I become that person. So it's ultimately a self-reflection. A lack of empathy. They don't care about anybody else's feelings. They'll listen, and somehow they'll find a way to bring the topic back to them because they don't care about how you feel. Some covert narcissists can actually fake empathy. Why? Because it serves their greater need to have you think they're amazing. No other reason. They're often willing to recognize or accept other people's feelings. So if we're in a relationship and we say, well, you don't understand me, that alone doesn't give them a disorder. It's just one element. Remember, there must be 5 or more. But by now, those of you who are listening thinking, hang on, I know people like this. I have someone like this in my life. And they're often seen as being arrogant or haughty in their attitudes. They don't even care about other people. And sometimes we can look at someone straight in their eyes and say, you really don't care. And they're like, why should I? We'll explore this further in part 2 as well, and a little bit later today. So the carcinosin mindset now versus an NPD mindset. Carcinogens are highly sensitive to emotional environments. They're easily hurt. People with NPD, they're insensitive. They're oblivious. The carcinosin bottles up their emotions. Don't worry. Stiff upper lip. Don't air your dirty laundry. Keep it all inside. At CPH, we say if you don't explode, you will implode. That something inside will rupture or tear or break down or attack or destroy. That's what emotions do when they're bottled up inside. But an NPD suppresses their emotions. They don't want to be in touch with them because they hurt, but they project them outwards. So when an NPD comes at us, attacks us with hateful words, hurtful words and phrases, it's actually not about us. They're projecting their own securities out to the world. And if someone's on the receiving end of that, we advise you to say, don't worry, remain steadfast, because it's not about you. It's about them. And the whole reason we're having this webinar, say, oh, I get it now. It's actually never about me because they are projecting their own feelings, but I'm the brunt of it, so they're making me feel like it. So if a narcissist says, you're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're poor, what they're saying is, I feel fat, I feel ugly, I feel stupid, I feel poor. But because they can't use the word I, unless it's I am great, I am powerful, I am clever, it's a reverse. So whenever you're in a relationship of any kind with a narcissist, flip the script. Simple take-home message, flip the script. Carcinosin mindset idealizes past relationships, times of great memories, longing, and emotional safety. An NPD person doesn't care. They only worry about right here and where it's going to get them going forward. No time for the past because it does not serve them. Maybe we can learn something from that. Carcinosin fears change, especially emotional instability, and clings to familiar situations or safety, or sometimes we say they crawl back into their shell. Someone with NPD fears losing control, but embraces change if it enhances their image or status. Somehow they will find a benefit in everything, and if not, they will drop it and move on to something else. We'll come to that. Carcinogens have a deep grief, unresolved emotional pain from abandonment or loss, leading to internal suffering. Now, we see many patients and clients having a carcinosin mindset. And when our graduates and students take these cases, they reveal a lot of these mindsets. So we are sharing with you the wealth of 40 odd years and thousands of patients around the world, what we've seen. And at the same time, what we've seen in NPD. Cancer mindset needs to protection. They need safety. They don't want to be rejected. An NPD doesn't care about being rejected, so they control others and they want to maintain their power. They want to get the upper hand. We'll talk about how they do that next few slides. Carcinosis have emotional ups and downs because they can't control their feelings. They keep them suppressed. Every time they surface, they know they need to release them, but because they're people pleasers, they will not. So they bury them back inside. So they're on this emotional yo-yo themselves. The NPD has the same feelings, but they mask it with superiority. So now we're seeing the NPD is a facade. It's a facade of somebody weak, vulnerable, afraid, and scared. So it's the carcinosis mindset with a hardened exterior shell. In essence, that's it. Nothing to be scared of, nothing to be frightened of. Carcinosis person gives excessively to others to gain love, validation. We see this a lot with people who even do charity work in soup kitchens, feed the homeless, because by doing that, we get a self of worth, we get a sense of gratitude from the person, and we ultimately feel better for it. Someone with NDME demands admiration and validation. Do you know how clever I am? Do you know how lucky you are to be with me? Do you know I can do so much better than you? You should be grateful. In fact, the best thing in your life is me. This is some of the common dialogue we hear when we hear about people with NPD or people suffering from being in a relationship with an NPD. So narcissism versus NPD. One is a personality trait. One is a personality disorder. So focus on the right side of this table. Grandiosity, admiration, lack of empathy, self-importance, insensitivity, exploiting others without guilt. You did this to me, so you came along for the ride. I didn't hear you complaining. This is the dialogue we expect to hear. And we're like, yeah, you're right. Makes us think. In relationships, someone with NPD has a toxic and exploitative relationship. They use people as a source of validation. A regular person with narcissism may struggle with relationships because they need validation all the time, but they don't destroy that relationship. They're just quite needy. Someone with narcissism may be self-centered, but also show self-awareness. They say, well, actually, I know it's about me. The NPD person manipulates. We will talk about things like gaslighting, love bombing, and devaluation very shortly. They have this delusional sense of superiority. This is the thing I said again and again in different ways. So we get where their mind set. First slide, mindset. How they've set their mind or how their lifestyle has set their mind. Part 2 will be all about how narcissists are created, not born, and about the circumstances from childhood that shape them and make them into these people that then go out into the world and attract people with the carcinosis mindset to have this codependent relationship. Let's cover some of the techniques and manipulations of people with NPD. Love bombing. This is the initial phase of overwhelming affection and attention. Often we hear the superstars with this. We read it in the media. They had a whirlwind romance, flew off to a desert, and got married within 2 weeks. They said it was the best feeling they've ever had. 6 months later, they're in the headlines again, but this time they're getting divorced. So when someone's getting too intense, too quick, a new friendship, they become best friends. They hang out all the time. They forget their family and their existing friends. Fast friends, close buddies, all over a weekend. How can that be? You barely know me. Take your time. Know me and grow with me. No, no, no. For an NPD, it's quick. Like a match, it fizzles out just as quick, but the spark is intense. So if you go, wow, they got on like a house on fire. Yes, on fire. Sooner or later, someone's going to burn their hands. But once they've got their victim emotionally invested and bonded, they start to devalue them. They criticize them, belittle them, or emotionally manipulate them to make them feel on edge, diminish their worth, and make them feel lucky for being with the NPD. Oh, you're not as clever as you used to be. You're not as pretty as you used to be. Have you gained weight? You don't care about your appearance as much. I think we've hit a grey spot or a boring period. We need to keep the spark alive. I'm the same person I was only a few months ago. What happened? Nothing happened. They got bored because you no longer serve their purpose. But whilst they're devaluating you, there's a technique they do called breadcrumbing. Every now and again, after they've got someone on tenterhooks, feeling insecure, having no self-esteem, they give them just enough attention because remember the carcinosin mindset, feelings of nostalgia and for better times. They go, yeah, they were nice once. And then we fool ourselves if we have a carcinosin mindset and we say, well, when they're nice, they're really nice, but they're only nice 5 or 10% of the time. But that 5 or 10% compensates for the 90. No, no, no. That's our mindset. That's wrong. So it keeps the victim there. It's like an animal playing with its prey before it eats it. Keep it in the hope that it's going to survive, but the predator ultimately knows it's going to kill it and eat it. Gaslighting. Now, this is a big word. It was the word of the world about 3 years ago. You can Google that. It's a form of psychological manipulation where the narcissist distorts reality and makes the person question their own belief. I did that. No, no, no. 3 weeks ago, you said this, remember? And the person at the hands of an empty said, no, I'm sure I did this, or I'm sure I said that, or the situation was like this. No, 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 you've got it all wrong. And why do we believe this? Because if we've been devalued and we lose our self-worth and our self-esteem and we have no confidence, we turn around and think, well, actually, you know what? You may be right. I think it was your way. Yes, it is, honey. You're losing your mind. Yes, it is, buddy. You're at work. You're working too hard. Don't worry. I've got your back. Go home, take some rest. You look tired. Don't worry. I'll tell the boss that I've covered your work shift. We can hear this in many, many ways. They pretend they're caring. Another phrase is, it's only because I love you I'm doing this. I tell you because I care. Well, I also care for me, so why don't I tell myself? So be wary of these words disguised as caring, which are actually to keep you on the back foot, doubting your own reality, questioning the validity of your own thoughts and experiencing, and making you adopt their thoughts and experiences. Like a cat playing with a mouse, when they're done, they lose interest, they abruptly cut off the relationship, discard, like falling off a cliff. Boom. That leaves the person suffering from a friendship or a relationship or a workship. I've heard it with workshops. We got on well. We used to go out for team building and team bonding. Then all of a sudden, either they got a promotion or they're just not interested, or there's a new work colleague came on board. In a relationship, I don't know what happened. One day he just packed his bags and left. Or one day she just told me, I'm done with you. Go. We hear it all the time. This is a discard. Any healthy person will discuss things and say, this isn't working out. Let's find an amicable way. Let's do it with respect. Let's do it with dignity. There's nothing respectful and dignity in a relationship with an NPD. It's keeping you in what they call a narcissistic fog or a quagmire, where you don't know if black is white, white is black, night is day, or day is night. You're in a whirlwind. You're discombobulated. Your brain is not stable. Your heart is racing. You feel like you're walking on eggshells because you don't know which way you're going to be hit at next. Are you going to be devalued? Will you get a bit of bread coming and a little bit of love and affection to keep you hanging in there? Will you be forced to question your own reality? Or will you be tossed aside like you don't even matter? They also have a sense of entitlement. Others should cater to their needs. Can you get me this? Can you do that for me? Can you build this for me? Can you pick me up? Can you drop me off? I'm not your babysitter if you're in an adult relationship. And then it leaves the person wondering, well, how did you cope before I was in your life? Did you have somebody else running around like a slave, catering to your needs? I'm your partner. I'm your colleague. I'm your neighbor. I'm your sibling. I'm your equal. How dare you treat me like this? Another phrase sometimes we hear people with a carcinosin mindset say, they say, he or she did or said this to me. What have I done to deserve this? That's not the question, people. What you should be saying is, what is wrong with you to treat me this way? That's when you stand in your power and you find your own voice. It takes guts. And here at CPH, we have a combination of remedies called the empowerment combo. If you want to know what it is, speak to a CPH homeopath and they will guide you. It helps you stand in your power and find your voice and not question that. What's wrong with me? No, no. What's wrong with you to treat me this way? Flip the script back and you regain control of your life. We know about the grandiosity, need to be admired and recognized. Do you know who I am? Do you know how lucky you are to be with me? Look around you. Everybody tells you I'm great, that you're the lucky one. Really? Because you twisted my head and made me think I am. But you also chose me, so I must have had something going for me. Never forget your power. Hoovering. This is when someone has been discarded and then the NPD wants to suck them back into a toxic or abusive relationship, a workship, partnership, or a sibling even. Sometimes I've had people in family feuds, the siblings cut them off like they don't even matter. Then before you know it, they try and get back into your life, just when you start to heal. What does this look like? This is the NPD chart, and you'll have never seen anywhere like it on Earth. It's a world first, this graph. The love bombing, high, intense, over a short period of time. Then devaluation, putting someone down, making them feel less of themselves, where they feel horrible, they doubt themselves. But then all throughout it, give them a little bit of breadcrumbing, just keep them hanging in there. And there's that cliff we talk about, the discard. Dropped off, boom, disappeared, never to be heard of again. Ghosted is the word we hear in the modern world. People don't answer my calls. I've texted him 15 times. He doesn't return them, but I can see he's read them. They don't care. You're irrelevant. But it feeds their ego to be contacted that many times. And here's the hoovering, vacuuming, Dysoning for those of you who are not of that generation. People suck you back in. These are some covert techniques that some of you will have experienced. And if you haven't, this will educate you and empower you. So when you see it, you can recognize it. And to recognize it is to be empowered to deal with it. A smear campaign is when they have a deliberate and malicious attempt to damage someone's reputation or discredit them, often behind their back, by spreading false or exaggerated information. That happens when an NPD feels threatened, rejected, or challenged. In a work situation, a guy might feel inferior to his colleague, so he'll take his buddies out for a beer and spread some gossip. Did you know this? Did you know he got fired from his last job, for example? They spread lies. They reframe the situation to make them the hero. Did you know that his success was all due to me? If it weren't for me helping him out, he would get nowhere. That's not needed. It's not ethical. It's not professional. But it makes people question their character. It turns people against the victim or the carcinosin mindset, leading to social exclusion and emotional isolation. People can do it in families. They go to their relatives. My sibling did this. We're not talking to him or her anymore. Do you know how terrible she is? Don't waste your time. Where is your loyalty? Did you know she said this about you? Sometimes they come at us. We'll come to that in a second. Triangulation. It's used to create rivalry by praising another person or to compare negatively to another person. This creates jealousy and insecurity and creates conflict. Sometimes parents do it inadvertently. Why can't you be more like X? Why can't you be more like your brother? Why are you not as pretty as your sister? Why are you not as strong as the neighbor? Some women will say to the men, if you can't fix the shed, I'll get the neighbor to do it. He's done it and he's so clever. Why can't you be that way? Don't devalue me. The second sentence, everyone else thinks you are difficult or horrible. Sometimes you get it in the corporate world. People say, well, people are saying this. Question back, say, who are these people? And then when you stand in power, say, I will go and ask them in front of you. No, don't. You'll make us look bad. Well, you've already made me look bad. And now you want me to be quiet so you can continue your smear campaign. Manipulating a third party. Oh, my wife doesn't understand me. My husband's horrible to me. My children treat me like a doormat. Oh, really? Then it brings people on your side. Empathy. Sometimes they do this in relationships. Oh, that man was looking at me. Oh, she's flirting with me. She says I'm too good for you. Really? Why are you even bothering? Once you're aware of this, this is not normal behavior in healthy relationships. This is toxic, manipulative behavior designed to make the person receiving it question themselves, worry, keep them on the back foot in that narcissistic fog and unstable. So now they've been compared because remember, the carcinosin mindset attracts the NPD mindset. So this person needs to be valued. The other person says, well, I'm of value. So when they devalue the carcinosin mindset, the person will do anything to be valued again. And they're stuck in this horrible cycle. So being aware helps to break that cycle. What is the purpose of these manipulation techniques? To regain control and admiration, or to revenge or punish, and to maintain superiority. I've seen people be friends for 20 years. Something happens. And if someone has an NPD trait, personality, did you know if it weren't for me, so and so, so and so, so and so, to bring them back down so they can feel superior? People only put people down because they are already above them. And the only way they can be superior is not by raising them, but by lowering others. Why do narcissists hoover back after a while? Happens a lot in relationships. Oh, all of a sudden I got a text from the ex, or my ex work colleague, or my ex boss phoned me. Why? Let's understand it. One is to regain control, to re-establish control over the victim. And if they've discarded, they want to say, well, do I still have it? And sometimes you hear them say, I still got what it takes. Oh, she'll take me back. He'll be my friend again. He'll get me a job. Really? Why should they? Need for supply. Narcissistic supply. We'll talk about this in the second episode, part two, further. Narcissistic supply. Think of narcissists as energy-sucking vampires who need to feed on drama, on supply, on chaos, whether it's yours or theirs, or they create it or invent it. Supply can be going to a restaurant and arguing with the waiter, returning the food because it wasn't so particular or so right, getting things comped or made free. I didn't like this dessert, it was horrible. They'll take it off the bill, good. Buying lots of clothes and then going and arguing with the sales cashier to return an item. This wasn't good enough. That wasn't to my standard. You're awful. Buying plane tickets and asking for a refund or an upgrade because they're entitled. All of this is supply. Going on the internet non-stop. Find someone with NPD and see if they can ever sit still. They can't, because without it, they will fizzle away. So it's not just relationships. It can be shopping, retail therapy, walking down the street, returning an item, purchasing an item. All this is meant to keep their brain, excuse me, busy, because they don't have to think about the deep insecurities that they've had since childhood. And that is what part two is going to be all about. They also hoover to maintain their sense of superiority. If they can reel someone back in, they've got the upper hand. This one's a bit more scary in a way. Unfinished business. If they've been disrespected, or indeed if they were the one that were rejected by the person in a relationship, they will hoover them back in and end the relationship on their terms. Because in NPD's mind, how dare you? Do you not know who I am? You don't do this to me. I do this to you. So now I will do anything and everything to get you back in so I can deal with you my way. So how do they do this? Guilt tripping. You left me when I needed you the most. And in most cases, you've been discarded. So you're like, well, actually, you discarded me. Then they'll say, do you know why? I've seen cases where someone's been in an abusive relationship and the person with NPD says, do you know why I hit you? Excuse me? That's an offense in most parts of the Western world. You don't have the right to hit anybody. You made me hit you. No, they're your hands. This is guilt tripping. Imagine that. Think about it. Future faking. This is something that we see a lot of as well. Either the narcissist promise to change or they build you up with fantasies of something that they know you want. If you're in a relationship and you've always wanted to be married, they might say, well, one day we'll get married and picture this. Remember the conversations we used to have when we were dating? And because the carcinosin mindset loves nostalgia and the feeling of love they once thought they had, they go, yeah, maybe this is worth fighting for. This is worth working for. It's future faking. It's never going to happen. Because if it was, it would have happened by now. Sometimes they say, okay, we will move house to a neighborhood that you wanted, or we will have children, or I will stop drinking, or I will stop that. It's never going to stop. You don't change for someone else. They change because they need to for themselves. But to reel someone in, they'll future fake. Emotional manipulation, creating a sense of urgency. Imagine if you're in a relationship and you have children. Oh, it's the kid's prom. You've got to get together. We've got to create a united front. Or they're getting engaged. Well, we're over. Why do you need to get me back in? So you can show the upper hand. Flattery and charm. You're amazing. You're the best relationship I ever had. You're the best friend I ever had. What happened? You're a great colleague. Remember the old times when we used to work together. We've heard all these words before. False emergencies or crises. I've seen this in relationships. Oh, my partner, I broke up with him. I had enough. He's got a flat tire and he's called me down. That only you can do it. Or we've got a joint card, a credit card, or a mortgage together. Well, we could deal with it. We're adults. So recognize these emergencies for what they are. They're attempts to suck you back in. Only the other day, I heard of someone saying they've had a long distance relationship and they were married and it was a rocky relationship. But she said the man's coming back to get his belongings. And when asked how's it going, oh, we're on talking terms. That's a Hoover. It's under the premise of getting the belongings to get back in to see if I can emotionally batter you again. So it's seeing things for what they are, not for what we are made to believe they are, because we've had our head twisted, we've been gaslighted, we've been kept in this narcissistic fog where we don't even know. And we've been socially isolated and excluded from our siblings, relatives, and friends. Because someone with NPD will say, oh, they're horrible, your friends are horrible, your family don't like you. Stay with me, I've got your back. They want to isolate you because you're weakest when you're alone. Sometimes we say at CPH, we say, remember your tribe, your family, your kin, the people you grew up with, the people who nourished you, who nurtured you, who were there for you in your hard times. They may not be your family, your actual blood family, but they might be your community. So go with the people who've got your back all the time and don't ever let yourself get isolated. How do we respond to hoovering? We recognize the pattern. That's a tactic of narcissists. Stay vigilant, stay emotionally detached. It's hard to do if you have a mortgage or a family or children or they're a sibling, but this is where you do need help. You cannot do it on your own, only because you've lost the ability to do it on your own because you've been emotionally battered, so you are no longer your true self. Set boundaries. Narcissists hate boundaries. Why? Because they have a sense of entitlement that the rules don't apply to me. So how can you and how dare you give me rules? Because I set the rules. And don't ever feel guilty for prioritizing your well-being. As they tell us on the airlines, put your own mask on first before you put your child's. As we say here, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Look after yourself first. It's not called being selfish, it's self-love. But an NPD will say you're selfish because you're thinking about yourself. If you really think about that word, what they're saying is, don't think about yourself. Help me fulfill my selfish needs by putting me first. Isn't that amazing? The whole world tells people don't be selfish. But if I'm not serving myself, what else am I serving? I'm serving somebody else's selfish needs. There's a healthy balance there. Do not fall for false promises or future faking. It's easy to get sucked in, which is why it's called hoovering. Stay strong. If you can, have a no contact rule. Somebody said to me once, they called it X for a reason. X stands for experience. Good or bad, it's done. Somebody else said to me once, if the past comes knocking, it's got nothing new to say. Keep the door closed. Easy to say, hard to implement when someone's had your heart, your mind, your finances, and your children. This is where you do need professional help to help you on this journey. Seek support, friends, family, therapists, practitioners. Please don't do it on your own. There are too many people suffering this way. There is always help. Techniques to manage, setting boundaries. This is absolutely key. Do not take it personally. It's not about you. It's never going to be about you. It never has been about you. It's always about them. If I said it simply, in an NPD's world, rule number one, me, myself, and I. Rule number two, go back and read rule number one. That's the NPD's world. But they will manipulate and cajole to make you feel part of their world because it serves their purpose. Nothing else. Avoid engaging in power struggles. Don't explain. Don't engage. Don't defend. Leave it be. Because that is a part of the supply that they want. If someone knows they can get you, get under your skin, make you respond, make you break down, make you vengeful, they've won. Because, like a puppet on a string, somebody else is controlling your emotions. Do not give over control of yourself to somebody else. Minimize emotional reactions. Don't even let them get a rise. Stay cool, calm, and collected. Go back to your support network, explode there. The most powerful thing you can say to an NPD is no, and I don't care what you think. Very hard words, but if you do, you will see what we call a GSF, genuine shocked face on them. They think, oh my goodness, really? Because you caring and you not saying no is how they get their supply, their control, their manipulation, and their upper hand. Know when to walk away. Sometimes you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. So just to know that. Okay, thank you for listening. We've got a few moments to ask some questions and we'll try and answer. We hope you found it useful. We have some of our panelists, hopefully you can send some questions my way, send them my way, and we'll see what we can do.
Son, one of the questions on the panel was, why carcinosin? Why did we use carcinosin?
Okay, good question. Now, carcinosin is a homeopathic remedy called a nosode, which is a remedy which is potentized and proved from a diseased tissue. So this remedy is taken from breast cancer tissue and it was potentized. And when people proved this, they found that these were the mindset and the emotions and the feelings of someone who had manifested this illness. So that's why we call it a mindset. It's a way of thinking. For those in our course and on our colleges and other homeopaths and other colleges, they understand in the homeopathic world there is something called mental emotional. The words we use are called rubrics. It's how homeopaths put things together, what clinicians call diagnoses and symptoms. The way we put it simply is we have a brain with grey matter that senses the world around us. Inside that grey matter, we have three glands, the pineal, the hypothalamus, and the pituitary. They are the control centers of all our emotions. So how we think translates into how we feel. And those feelings release hormones that cascade down and through our body and act on other body parts, physiological processes, and either make us happy, sad, or manifest disease and illnesses. So when we start in the brain with certain feelings of certain beings, it cascades down. Simply put, we can hear a song, it can raise our heart rate and we get pumped up and go for a gym workout. We can hear another song, it can make us sad and we sit down and cry and feel nostalgia. That's our sensory organs, our ears, creating an emotion of tears, which flows down into our heart to make it sad, energetic, or melancholic. So that's what carcinosin is. It's one of the remedies used, but it's one of the remedies that has this exact personality: low self-worth, low self-esteem, people pleasing, make sure putting everyone else's needs above their own. That's why we use that, and it helps us to understand the flip side of the narcissist mindset. Hopefully that answers that question.
Thank you, Son. One of the other questions was, why don't we use other remedies like Platina, Veratrin alb, or Lycopodium, for instance?
Well, I don't know the full context of that question. It's a good question to ask. Why don't we use them? The question we say here at CPH is, it's not why don't we use a remedy, it's what is the remedy helping us achieve? We might explore that, in fact, not might, we will explore that in part two, when we look at how narcissists are made, not born, and we're going to go through some actual scenarios, different ways of creating narcissistic behavior. Then we're going to repertorize, homeopathic speak for putting things together to come out with remedies. So whoever's asked that question, you might find that some of these remedies will come out into the rep work, and that's later. First, we build up our understanding. What we don't do here is directly chase remedies because we don't do remedy chasing. A little bit of knowledge in the wrong hands We can read a book and say, oh, you're so this and this. That's okay for you. Here at CPH, we work on what's causing the effect, not the effect itself. So if something has caused it, go back and treat the cause, not the effect. As we say here, if I have a rotten apple, do I treat the apple or do I treat my tree? So we will address that in part two, and hopefully that'll answer your question.
Son,
Yes, Helen.
another question is is the carcinosin for the victim or for the narcissist?
Very good question. Now, when you look at slide one, you'll probably see that it could be applied to both. So we will answer that in part two. Like I said, we'll go through the scenarios and we will see that they're almost identical, flip side of the same coin. However, if you cannot wait the 3 weeks for part two, carcinosin is more often. Not only we don't do absolutes here, we work in all the range of possibilities. The carcinosin mindset is more for the person who's on the receiving end of the person with NPD. We will talk about that in part two because it's so important. My hope is that people don't go away here, even those of you who may be homeopathy and say, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll give carcinosin to my victim and platina or something to my NPD. Don't do that because unless you know what you're causing it and why and what the root cause is, you could get yourself stuck. Other people ask me, well, I know I'm a homeopath, and I know someone who's an NPD. What if I give them this remedy? Well, that's unethical. Unless they've asked you to, don't do it. Why? Because a narcissist will tell you they're perfect. They're not the problem, you are. And this is the funny side of dealing with people with NPD. And this is why we'll come to in part two to complete this journey. We don't just look at, it's like looking through a keyhole and seeing the elephant in the room. I saw the tail, I want to treat the tail. Let's see the whole case in context, see the journey the person's been on, understand what made them the way they are, then we know what they might need. At the same time, people who are in a relationship or workship with these people, we can give them what they need. That's the easy side. So carcinosin would be used, could be used very often for people on the receiving end, in simple words. But we're going to talk more about that in part two.
Thank you, Son. Another question is what if your child is an NPD? As a parent, you can see that your child is an NPD.
Thank you for that question. That is exactly where we are going to start part two, how MPTs are created. So if you can see your child is, you look back and you think, well, what has this child been fed in terms of feeding their brain? And if you're the parent, please don't think it's just you. It might be the extended family, it might be the siblings, it might be grandparents. I've been to many places where I see grandchildren doted on by their grandparents. Parents of the child can go to school to a parent teacher evening, and their ears are blind to the teacher saying, your kid is a nightmare. They won't hear it because they'll go home and tell the kid, you're special. Do you know how clever you are? You're in this top percentile. You're Mensa. Or you're so beautiful. Or you're so athletic. Look at you. You're the best sportsman in your year. That person is being filled with this ideas of grandiosity already from a young age. People say, well, I'm just praising my child. Well, someone once said, if all you do is measure your child's achievements, you are training them that achievements are what need to be measured. That's a somism. Because when you gave birth to your child, it had diapers or nappies on, it had milk, it fell asleep, and it did a poo. And we'd change the diaper, we'd look at the baby's butt and say, oh, aren't you beautiful? So what changed in that life to say you're beautiful just by sleeping and eating and pooing to turn into an adult or a young child where we're measuring your measurements, your height even? I've heard parents say my child is short in the percentile at school. Your child is something to be loved, but loved to an extent where they feel they're better than everybody else. So someone somewhere is creating this NPD. So maybe think about this, explore this within your own circle, try and identify it, and be ready for part two. It's going to be an eye opener. Trust me. I think we've got time for one or two more questions.
Um, so someone asked in part two, when you discuss how NPD is formed in a person, will you discuss support, homeopathic or otherwise, to prevent it?
Absolutely. Yes, we will. This is how we lead. First, we understand how people are at one end of it to enable people to ask questions like this. Oh, what if my child is an NPD? Now we're aware. Then we see, well, how are these people created? Then we say, how we'll cover 6, 7, 8, or 9 scenarios. If not, we will do a part 3 because we're so passionate. We want to share this with you. So we will break it up and walk through that journey. And then we're going to show some rep work to show suggested remedies. This does not mean you go out and use the remedy. It says talk to a CPH homeopath to work with you on that journey. So we will guide you. As we said, the disclaimer, this doesn't allow you to treat yourself or your family. Because we have a phrase here, we say you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. You can't be objective when you or your family is the subject. So you need someone to look at it with an objective lens. So that's the guidance. But yes, absolutely. Thank you for that, Kristen. Any other questions?
There was just one more. Most of the world is in a carcinosin state. What preceded this?
You know what? I love that question. Yes, you're right. We sometimes say here at CPH, we don't defy, we don't like that word. We say we challenge you to find us someone in the modern world who is not in a carcinosin state. And for those of you who are homeopaths or who are interested, buy Ellen Kramer's book, Methods in Homeopathic Prescribing, where at the end of her book, she tells you that the world is headed towards a carcinosin mindset. Because already with the internet and Instagram and Twitter and all the other social medias, we rely on other people's validation. I remember years ago seeing a picture of a man on a deathbed in hospital. It says 10,000 friends on Facebook, not a single person by his bedside. We're living in a virtual world where our self-worth is out there. It's not inside, it's not within, it's not in our neighborhood. People don't hug each other anymore. They give people a thumbs up and a heart on social media. That will never ever replace shaking someone's hand, sitting with them in a moment of grief, or giving them a hug when they need it the most. So, yes, the modern world is in a carcinosin mindset. Carcinosin is the remedy of the future in one way, shape, or form. And the practical homeopaths understand this. Practical means let's do what it takes to get you back on your healing journey. One more question, and then we will call it a day. And I will hopefully see many of you guys at part 2.
Okay,
So,
well, what? Oh, I'm sorry, Ellen. Go right ahead.
I was going to say, someone said, please can you repeat the name of my book?
Okay, Ellen, I don't want to repeat the name of your
No,
book. You are the
please,
author. Why don't you share it?
no, please do.
Okay, someone hopefully on the chat will share it with you. It's by Ellen Kramer, Kramer. Google search her, go onto Amazon and find her, and it's called Methods in Homeopathic Prescribing. Okay,
Thank you.
why do we say methods? Because there are many people around the world who say, I'm a classical homeopath. Well, that's fantastic. That's like saying I'm a classical musician. As long as you can read sheet music, you can pretty much play any kind of music. There are people who can't even read sheet music, play phenomenal music. Classical music is one type of music. Classical method is one type of method. If I go to a pop concert, they're not going to be interested in my classical. So what we teach here are 15 different methods. That makes you super adaptable to however your client presents. And that's what Ellen talks about in the book. And that's why she founded the college and created and changed the course. Because she said, there's got to be more than one way to skin a cat. Because if all you have in your tool bag is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So classical homeopathy is a fantastic foundation. But then we need to do more to treat people who are in different mindsets, different stages. We have the whole FOMO, fear of missing out generation. We have the whole internet generation. That mindset is the NPD mindset. I need validation from others. Oh, I've got 10,000 followers. I'm better than you. Not really. You live in a virtual world where at the click of a button, you can disappear. That is a whole different topic. If that's the last question, we will call it a day there. I thank you very much for attending today. I hope you found it of use. My email is directly there. Reach out to me direct. Our college email is right there in front of you. Please reach out to us. Give us feedback. If you liked what you heard, tell us. If you didn't, tell us more. If you want to hear topics in the future, we are all ears. And we shall see you in 3 weeks' time for part 2. Thank you very much.